Okay, so it is official. Klay Thompson has formed a big three between him, Luka Doncic, and Kyrie Irving. He just joined the Mavericks on a 3-year, $50 million deal that comes out to about 16 million per year. For one, it is very weird knowing that this is the end of one of the most iconic trios in NBA history. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, those guys won 4 championships together. They got to countless NBA finals together. They're as iconic of a trio in the context of NBA history as like a Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, and Tim Duncan. And to know that it's come to an end like this is definitely weird, right? And I'll be interested to see what Golden State does to kind of recoup and get back into contender status. I don't know what they got as a part of this 3-team deal. I have to kind of take a look back at it, but still, it's weird knowing that these 3 guys aren't going to be playing together anymore. Maybe like there's like this weird reunion thing at the end of their career, but I'm not totally betting on it. So eyes are on Golden State to see what they do to kind of respond here. Again, I don't know what they got out of this deal, but we'll see what ends up happening. So there's that. As far as Dallas, how much better does this make them, especially from an offensive standpoint? Because that's the biggest thing to kind of talk about is what Klay brings to them offensively. I think it does a lot. So if you look at the Boston Celtics, one of the reasons they were so dangerous was because they had amazing floor spacing and such major threats from a three-point shooting perspective. There's Derek White, there's Drew Holiday, and there's Al Horford. So because of that, defenders off the ball who weren't guarding Luka or Kyrie when they had the ball, they had to make a tough decision. Do we come in and help, or do we stay home on shooters? Because Klay Thompson is one of the greatest three-point shooters of all time. Even in a down year, he was still an above-average shooter. Defenders are going to be less likely to overhelp. That opens up driving lanes for Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. So it's going to be that similar effect where the threat of outside shooters opens up more opportunities for those key guys to get looks around the basket or whatever the case may be. Boston didn't run like this super complex offense at all. They just didn't. It was just an offense relying on the ability of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to beat defenders off the dribble initially and making reads based off of what those help defenders are doing. Same thing Dallas did. Dallas did the similar thing to Boston with their offense. It wasn't like a bunch of super complex sets, a super complex motion offense. It was, we're going to use our best players in Luka and Kyrie to try to create isolation situations. And out of there, they'll make reads to kick it out to shooters. It's the same thing. But now having Klay Thompson gives a even bigger threat as far as perimeter shooting goes. There may still be issues of stagnation in that Dallas offense that we saw in the finals that just angered me a ton, where it was just so heliocentric. It was so Luka and Kyrie reliant, where they were just falling into these possessions, where they were just getting up these difficult shots and even make or miss, regardless of the result. You don't want to rely on difficult shots every time down the road. But again, because Klay Thompson is here, because of the attention that he attracts, because of his ability to shoot, maybe this opens up driving lanes even more for Kyrie and Luka. As far as the defense, which was a major issue for Dallas, yes, Klay is a better defender than some of the guys that were already here. He is still a solid enough defensive player, but he's not the defensive guy that he used to be. But this thing defensively doesn't get any better unless Luka gets better defensively. So I don't want us to think that because they got Klay Thompson, automatically they're not going to have the same defensive issues that they had last season. Luka will still be hunted if he does not improve from a defensive perspective, flat out. So this isn't a thing where you get some guy and it cures all. Luka still has to lock in defensively, or teams will continue to pick on him. Luka essentially is not a threat on the defensive end, whether he's defending inside, whether he's defending on the perimeter. He's not a threat. So this Klay Thompson pickup is not a get out of jail free card for that Mavericks defense, especially for Luka. They're going to be as good. Their defense is going to be as good as Luka Doncic is. So his improvement is going to be the key behind them getting better defensively. Klay Thompson himself, his defense isn't going to totally save this Dallas defense. It's going to be the effort of all 5 of those guys in tandem. That's what it's going to come down to. But again, I like what he does for them offensively. He doesn't totally take away the stagnation they'll run into on the offensive end, but because he is such a threat from a three-point shooting perspective, it'll open up a lot in the lane for Kyrie and Luka, and they'll kind of work from there. So I do think it makes Dallas slightly better on that end, but my biggest worry for Dallas is their defense, especially the defense of Luka. If he's going to continue to be a liability, teams are going to continue to take advantage, and no matter who you bring in, it just doesn't go up from there, right? And relatively also, like, Klay Thompson is not as good of a defender as Derrick Jones. So that's even more incentive for Luka to get better from a defensive standpoint. We all know Derrick Jones just signed a deal with the Clippers. So they got a little bit weaker out there on the perimeter with losing him. So it's going to come down to Luka's ability to defend and his effort and consistency on that end. But like I said, good move for that Mavericks offense. It opens up lanes and opens up opportunities for for Kyrie and Luka. And we'll kind of see what they're able to do from there. For Klay, it's good for him because it's just a change of environment, right? We knew he had a couple of really rough years, slumping years where he just wasn't shooting the ball as well. He got benched last season, which was really weird, a really rough situation for a guy who's a perennial all-star, but it's just a change in scenery. You can kind of tell at a point last season that's where he was at, right? It didn't look like he was totally in sync with the team, what they had going on. And so just a change in scenery could mean a lot for certain players. We've seen that happen a ton. And so maybe just having a new environment, being around different teammates, maybe this kind of revitalizes him a bit, just gives him a little bit of a boost and motivates him a bit more, and he's in a better situation. So we'll see what ends up happening, but solid move here for the Mavericks. Again, we'll see what else is added on to this big-time 3-team deal. I know Josh Green got sent over to the Hornets, so they lose him. And again, they get a little bit worse defensively in losing Josh Green, who's a really good athletic perimeter defensive player. But we'll see. But I think it makes Dallas a little bit more of a threat on the offensive end, but doesn't totally change their defense, which is their biggest point of concern. And so I don't know if it completely takes them over the top and makes them that much better of a team than what they were last season. But we'll see. But good move here for Thompson to get into a newer environment. Good work by the Dallas front office, and we'll see how things end up turning out and what other changes they make throughout these next couple of months in the offseason.